Hey, Tony Gaskins here. Now listen to me. We have to be very intentional. And it's a struggle, but we have to be very intentional with the men. So with your husband, with your brother, with your son, your nephew, because there is a mass feminization of men. It's a mass feminization of men. And I don't even know if I could put that in the title because YouTube be tripping. But just seen the video online and I liked the video. And so I say, let me go and talk on this too, because it's really permeating society and people aren't thinking about the spiritual side of things and it's hard for me to really talk about because I know guys personally who wear these crossbody pocketbooks, and it's like a man bag, but it looked like a woman crossbody, and then just wearing really deep cut shirts with just so much chest out, and then just the shorts just so short, just getting shorter and shorter. I got on some of them today that's almost feeling a little too short, and it's really changing the biological chemistry, the mental chemistry, because men starting to feel very frisky and very feminine, and with that, it's breaking up a lot of marriages, breaking up a lot of relationships, because men starting to feel more free and promiscuous. Because when you're wearing these clothes that could be seen as seductive, and like the hoochie daddy shorts and things of that nature, men starting to feel sexy. Whereas men used to dress in a way that a man felt tough or a man felt cool. Now the clothing today have men feeling sexy, have men feeling sassy, have men feeling jazzy. And so that mindset is also reducing the desire to approach women. A lot of women not getting approached today. And because men going from the masculine, which is a hunter, to the feminine, which is a receiver, men now are waiting on women to shoot their shot. Men rather take the path of least resistance, where a man go to a woman DM and shoot a DM, because she may not see it, she may not respond. If she does respond and she rejects him, it's just between her and him. Whereas if a man walk up to a woman, somebody might look at that interaction and somebody might overhear that interaction. And if he get rejected, people done seen it. It take more heart, take more guts to approach a woman. And men using the excuse of the Me Too movement, saying that's why they not approaching women, and knowing good and well that a woman not finna try to counsel a man or put him in no Me Too movement if he appropriately and respectfully approaches her. Even if she going to decline his approach, she not finna get on Twitter and say, I want to report this man to the Me Too movement because he walked up to me and asked me if I'm single. So then that's a very lame excuse that a lot of men are using. And then men too, getting too comfortable in pants with a camel toe. So men wearing a lot more jeans and shorts with a camel toe, and wearing stuff that's a little too tight, and it's starting to change the way you think and you move, the way you see yourself, the way you see women. And men is trying today to outdress women. And men also painting fingernails. Men is painting fingernails, and this is celebrity men. This professional athletes, college athletes, rappers and singers, stuff that could have typically been seen as, macho or men or alpha males. Men are starting to paint their nails. And listen, now a large part of this is pornography and being turned over to a reprobate mind, becoming so promiscuous and so lust-ridden that a man is getting further and further away from his natural state, his natural being, because he's been turned over to bestiality, digital bestiality, watching other people have sex in the form of a porno, and it is desensitizing him, and it's spreading him so thin that he ends up watching men on these here pornos, and then he start to feel more feminine. He may start to feel homosexual urges, which also makes him want to express himself in more feminine ways, like painting of nails and tight revealing outfits or short outfits and things of that nature, man bags and things of that nature. And a lot of guys get upset with me when I'm talking about these short shorts and these man bags. And then also now what we seeing more of, and it's not really all that new, but because it's been out there years ago, but we're seeing a resurgence of the dangling earrings. For one, earrings is something that a woman wears, and it was already bad enough when men started getting earrings and then getting both ears pierced. But then now men are wearing the dangling earring, which we know customarily a woman wear an earring that dangles from her ear. And so now men wearing the dangling earring, the dangling cross, and it's shaking from the ear, which also make it feel like you got hair, make it feel like you got long hair, because it keeps slapping up against the side of that neck. And so that's another feminine thing that men are doing. Men are also becoming more and more into bromance. I was at the soccer field and I saw two boys on the soccer team hugging like a boyfriend and a girlfriend. It was a very long and sensual hug. It almost made me think in what I really feel like they could be dating. They could be dating and they could be out. But it didn't really look like it after the hug, but it was just a caress and a hand going up and down, and it was just like a real hug. And I'm like, I was just really confused in that. And what's happening is that level of touching amongst men, when a lot of men don't even touch their girlfriend or their fiance or their wife like that. And so you got to be able to still, draw a line for your sons and the men in your life, so they understand the role and the place of a man. And they understand the difference between masculinity and femininity. And we all comprised of men, a man and a woman. But we have to be careful when you see too much tapping into the feminine, because it's affecting men psychologically, and it's making men think and behave like a kept woman. Men are acting like a spoiled wife. Men acting more like a jazzy lady instead of like a provider and a protector and a leader and all of those things. And so we got to be real about it. We got to be real about it. It's because it's a trick of the enemy, because it comes from a spiritual realm. So a lot of the clothes and a lot of the fashion is created by men who date men. And so therefore, a lot of those men are resting in their feminine half of themselves versus the masculine half of themselves. And then they are putting that in their man bags, and they putting that into their nail polish, and they putting that into their outfits, their designs. And that art is an expression. And I'm getting, hate from undercover, from men in the closet, from women in the closet, and people trying to call me gay because I'm addressing these things, and they offended that I'm speaking to it. But I'm speaking to it because I'm noticing the breakdown of the family, and I'm noticing the breakdown of how men lead and behave and love a woman and in a relationship, because they're altering their psychological state by tapping into an overindulgence of femininity without paying attention to what the clothing and the hairstyles and the nail styles really truly make them feel. And we can't look at clothing and hairstyles and nails and grooming ourselves. We can't look at it in a light way. You got to understand. Now, if that's your choice and you want to tap into that, that is your choice. But the issue is men who are claiming to be masculine or parading as masculine or want to be treated in a masculine way by their woman, but expressing just as much femininity as the woman. It's confusing to the woman to have a man that's competing with her for the mirror, and competing with her in fashion, and competing with her in beauty, and trying to be smoother and more supple than she is. It's confusing for a woman. It's also confusing to the children. And that's why we're seeing more and more femininity in teenage boys. They're doing more things. Like my son, was telling me some boys his age was calling me fine, saying that I'm fine. And I just could never in my life ever remember me and my friends referring to a man as fine. And it was disturbing. And he telling me that today you gotta say, the guys have to say stuff that sounds gay in order to not be seen as gay. And if you are masculine, like you don't say anything that sounds what they call sus, then that means that you are gay. And that's a trick of the enemy, and it's coming from individuals, males, who are really showing how they really feel and saying how they really feel, but hiding as a heterosexual, and trying to convince other people that men flirting with men and calling each other hot and sexy and beautiful and all of this is normal and healthy and supposed to be, when not realizing that them words have power. And men are feeling devoid of affirmation and affection from women at times. And so if a man is getting that affirmation and affection from another man, he may subconsciously start to wonder what a relationship or love with another man is. And then those two men cannot reproduce. And so what happens is they may not want to go all the way to that point of being in a relationship, but they start to enjoy the camaraderie and the brotherhood to a point to where they are making love emotionally and spiritually, mentally, and verbally through quality time. Quality time and communication is what builds and strengthens love. And so men are actually falling in love, and women do this too, but we're addressing men right now. Men are actually falling in love with their male friends. And that's why they enjoy the company and the guys' nights with their guys more so than they enjoy the time with a woman who they are trying to be in a relationship with and reproduce with, but really have no connection with the woman because they're spending so much time with other men. That men are learning the ways and the behavior and the mindset and the thoughts and the feelings and the fears and the heart of other men, but yet expecting to be able to be a husband. And it doesn't work like that, because you gotta, y'all have to forgive me, my wife got this chair on Wayfair, and I mess around and put a little too much on there, but this thing, my goodness, man, you know, I'm about 200 pounds, so if I have me one of my old linemen coming here, this chair, they're gonna be on the floor. My goodness, I need to get me a new chair. This thing sound like it was through. And so what's happening is men are learning today, and this has always been the case with a lot of women, and we notice it with women kissing each other, I love you, calling each other fine and sexy and all of that, and we brush it under the rug because women still will go get married and be with a man or love a man or whatever. But the same thing is happening to a lot of women as well. And that's why the sexual relations in marriage is always talked about to be so little. It's because the two are not building together and falling in love and making love mentally to the mind, because they're too focused on girls' nights and guys' nights. And so now men spending so much time with men, and especially when you look at the young men in their early 20s, they have roommates that are men, and they're doing guys trips with no women involved, and they're doing video games and playing golf and doing so much as guys with no women involved, but yet are then trying to go be a husband and a father, but they've given all of their emotional time to other men. So they know the thoughts, the feelings, the emotions, and the ways of another man, but have not begun to learn the thoughts and the ways of a woman. And so think about it. And think about, when you look around, how many men do not understand in the least a woman. And that's because of this overabundance of bromance. And that is also why in the Bible, men, the same thing, they were spending so much time with men and making love mentally to the mind of men that they end up sleeping together. They end up being together. And that's why today we're seeing now with these celebrities, a lot of people are mentioning certain male celebrities that are with men, secretly. Or some may have even said some stuff publicly, thinking and believing and hoping maybe that people will brush it off, but that has become a real thing. And so this is something to really think about if you raising sons, to kind of help them have a healthy balance of their masculine and their feminine. And don't get so caught up with your son being overly masculine or overly feminine. And have good communication. So really express this and be active and encourage, friendships and interaction with the opposite sex as well as the same sex, so that there is a balance. Don't say, oh no, you can't talk to a girl, you can't be friends with a girl, and then just have them all the time with the boys. Because the way humans are, the human mind, it adapts to its environment. So if a boy comes into puberty and he starts to have erections and he starts to have, sexual urges and feelings, but he can't have any platonic interaction with women, with young ladies his age, then he may start to channel those feelings toward men. And that then could send him down a path that is very confusing to him. And that's today what we see happening. And that's why we're seeing a down low epidemic, because men is just giving so much time to just being around men and getting to know men, but not around women and getting to know women, and sometimes vice versa. And therefore, men end up being more attracted to a man. And I'm watching this happen in different cases and situations as I'm studying human behavior. And then I'm seeing the disconnect when these men go to start a family with a woman, and how the relationship is breaking down because he doesn't have a foundation or any foundational knowledge of a woman. Instead, all that has been expended on men. And so this is something that you won't be perfect at it. And it's not something that should scare you or worry you. But what I mean is, if you're a woman and you got a son, don't have your son painting your nails and painting nails with you. You go paint your nails and let your son do something else that may be in his masculine. And he can understand grooming, getting his nails cut, hands and feet, and having a face skin routine. I'm thinking about partnering with a skin, skincare company to get our young men hygienic, to where, you clean and refreshed and glowing, and understanding that washing your face, having a 3-step routine, getting your nails, clipped, getting your hands and your feet taken care of, clipped or whatever, whether it's at home or at a salon, that is also masculine too. That men could look nice and smell nice and be dressed nice. That masculine don't mean you gotta look rough and rugged and dirty and disgusting, but just understanding that it's not a man's place to emulate a woman and to dress like a woman and to carry himself like a woman, but instead to appreciate the beauty and the femininity of a woman while operating in his masculinity, while she is operating or resting in her femininity. And it's something that the interpretation will mean something different with each person. And I'm not here to go back and forth with nobody, because I know what I know and I know what I see. And if you see something different or see it differently, then that is your right to start you a YouTube channel and express your viewpoints on it. I am not homophobic. I am not against or hating on gay people, gay men or gay women, but I am in favor of a man and a woman being married and reproducing and raising their family in that way. And that's what I am doing, and that's what I vouch for and what I believe in. So the same way someone else may believe in men being with men or women being with women and adopting children or not having children, that's their right. That's their right. And I have my rights and my opinions and my beliefs, and that's all that is. And it's just about having respect across the aisle, but also addressing the subliminal, the quiet movement that is in the spiritual realm to slowly or secretly seduce a gender into emulating the opposite gender. And it's happening in ways with women, and it's happening in ways with men. And that is the confusion, and that's the trick of the adversary, where it's having more women pursue their masculine and more men pursue their feminine. And then the two becoming confused and at odds with their nature, and then being at odds with each other, and creating a gender war between the two. And that's why we see so many podcasts with men attacking women and women attacking men, because we're no longer operating from our natural essence that comes from our creator, but we being sucked in and seduced into something else that may not be of our nature, and that's producing confusion. So you have to be mindful of it. And that's why, because I associate a bag across my chest as a crossbody for a woman, that's why I don't own one of those. And that's why, because I associate nail paint with a woman, I don't paint my nails. And because I associate long nails with a woman, I try to remember to get my nails cut. Right now they're a little too long. I need to get them cut. I'm gonna cut them tonight. And I gotta speak to a room full of maybe 100 college age young men Wednesday. And we have to be mindful of how the mind works. And so a lot of women are saying, well, why aren't men approaching women? Why do men want women to do as much as the man or more than a man? Why do men want the woman to approach them now? Why are men telling women to shoot their shot? And it's because more and more men are operating in the feminine. And it's changing the way they think, changing the way they behave, changing the way they move, and they don't even realize why they're doing it. But hey, this is Tony Gaskins, and listen to the message, listen to it 2 or 3 times, and try to hear the heart of the message and where I'm coming from, and understand I ain't trying to hate on nobody or alienate or disrespect nobody. I'm just speaking what I'm seeing so that we could be mindful of it and aware of it. And I'm dealing with it myself. Like, my son just got blonde highlights in his hair. He kind of had natural highlights, but he got something put in there because he wanted to do something different. It's so many soccer players that have highlights that he wanted to try it. I was completely 100% against it, but he was so adamant about it, I let him do it. And as soon as he got it, I immediately felt like he looked, very pretty, like a pretty boy. And, his mom, she felt differently. She was okay. But she also in the place of don't want to make her teenager who about to leave in 2 years mad. She don't want to be on his bad side. Me, I don't care nothing about it. So I told him how I felt about the look, and that it looked pretty. And meaning head of hair reminded me of a woman. And I let him know that. But he comfortable in his skin, and he knows who he is. And so I just want him to be mindful of the masculine energy, the feminine energy. He got a woman in him. He got a man in him. We come from male and female, but I want him to be mindful of both of those and have a healthy balance without being deceived by the adversary to end up operating or feeling like or looking like or acting like a woman when God has made him a man. Because with our feeling, it dictates our actions, and that determines also how we show up in the world. And so that's what we have to realize. And men kind of know it and realize it and feel it. Some men say it and it's not politically correct anymore. But men associate certain behaviors with a woman and certain behaviors with a man. And so sometimes a woman may say to her son, "You acting like a girl," or say to the daughter, "You acting like a boy." And it may be they're associating certain behaviors that are being done with a certain gender. And things could get messy when you get into that type of stuff. But the key is just to understand the spiritual side of art, meaning fashion design, music, and things of that nature. So because the mind is so open and so strong. So like the young lady who, I think Janelle Monáe come out with the song, I think it's called Lipstick Lover. And I don't know what it means, but she's a woman and she's talking about her lipstick lover, which to me sounds like a lesbian relationship. Well, that right there can send young women who are maybe being ignored by young men. It could send her into an exploration of a lipstick lover at the age of 12 or 13. And it's really just because of a permeating message that is affecting her subconscious. And she starts to question her sexual preferences or sexual orientation or what have you. And this is the spiritual side of things, of how the brain can be programmed and the brain can be trained. And if we are not conscious, our subconscious will lead us down a path that we don't even agree with, but we just didn't have the wherewithal to refute the messaging that we received. And so we can believe the abnormal is normal if that is the messaging that we are under. And so what my point is to be mindful of the messaging and the intent behind the art, so that you can identify if the programming of your mind is shifting against your will, because the subconscious mind doesn't have the power to determine fact from fiction. Whatever it hears, it believes, and it moves towards it. And that's what people call manifestation, because they are hearing something and believing it, and then they're also accepting it in their conscious mind, and they're speaking it, and they're confessing it, and they're moving toward it, and they see it come to pass. That ought to be sign enough of the power of the mind being intertwined and connected with life. Is when we believe something, we can achieve something. But if we don't believe anything, we will be led like a leaf in the wind based on our subconscious mind, which is receiving messaging on the daily from music and movies and media and friends and family, that if we don't have the wherewithal to refute it or combat it, we'll become right in line with it and not even know what's happening internally or emotionally or spiritually. And then that shows up in the physical. So, hey, it's Tony Gaskins. Just want to touch on this so that you could be mindful of it and understand just how a little bit more how the mind works with these things, and look at it in your own life and think about it and process it in your own life, and you'll start to kind of see and realize what I mean from your youth and your young adulthood. And if you're older than a young adult now, just evaluate it and look at your friends, look at your family, start to do your data, get your data, do your research, do your studies, Come up with your hypothesis and start to pay attention to what you're seeing play out in front of you. But hey, this Tony Gaskins, God bless you. The growth group, we got us a private call next week. You can sign up in the Growth Club. It's called the Growth Club. I'll be calling the Growth Group. On TonyGaskinsAcademy.com, you'll see that. And what we got here on the 19th, New York. I put it in on my Instagram page. I maybe think I posted on the community page on YouTube. Grab your tickets if you're in the New York City area. I'll be up there on the 19th. Y'all connect with me. Come on out. God bless you. We'll talk soon.